Hi there you, hope you're well. So as creatives, I think it's so common that we sometimes feel a little bit uninspired. We sometimes feel a little bit unsure of our creative direction. We might feel a little bit disconnected from our vision, and we might be drifting a little bit from idea to idea, unsure where we're going to focus, or we might just feel a little bit stuck and unmotivated. And this happens to all creatives, happens to me, happens to all the creatives that I work with. And so I think that it's just really important that we learn how to check back in with our inner creative direction, check in with what feels good and what we're inspired for at the moment, so we can tap into that in our creative work. So yeah, it's of course important that we also learn to be able to do creative work on the days when we're not feeling our most inspired. But we all know the difference between having a clear creative direction and not. So yeah, we all really thrive on inspiration, we thrive on vision and direction. That's how we imagine what we are going to create. And so yeah, learning how to check in with that. So that's what I want to do today with you. I want to take you through 4 steps that I do together with my clients, and that will also be the 4 steps we go through in a new course that I'm working on, the Creative's Compass. So let's dive in and get started with step 1. So the first part is to check in with your inspiration. So I think that inspiration is such a good thing to pay attention to, because it holds a lot of information about our own creativity and the ideas we're having and the things that we want to move towards. So inspiration, of course, is everywhere around us. It can be on your Instagram feed, it can be on the books you're reading, it can be around you as you're moving through the world, and it can be inside you as well, what the kind of ideas and thoughts you're having at the moment. And sometimes it can feel like inspiration is just all over the place or missing or just, we can feel like inspiration is not something that is coherent or you're in control of. But I think that we can use inspiration and to have it and steer it a little bit so that we can learn from inspiration and tap into inspiration and have that fuel our creativity. So, okay, how do we do this then? I would suggest doing some kind of inspiration exercise. So, for example, you can spend a couple of hours on Pinterest. We all love Pinterest. Just create a new board, calling it something like inspiration check-in, and just pin quite wildly. Pin different things like, oh, this color inspires me, or this photo inspires me, or this craft project inspires me. It can be like everything. It can be style, it can be interiors, it can be whatever. Just pin different things that you're seeing and that is inspiring you. Then step away for a little bit, have a cup of tea, and come back to your board and look it over and see, okay, so what kind of trends am I seeing? What are the things that are connecting? And sometimes this might not be apparent right away. You might have to think about it a little bit and step back from it and come back to it. But usually we can see some trends, whether that trend is in color, if it's in lightness or moodiness, if it's in nature, or whatever it might be. And usually this can tell us something about what we're inspired for. Another thing you can do is to go on a little artist date with yourself. You bring a notebook or something like that, and you bring it to an inspiring place, whether that's outside in nature or a cafe or a beautiful library, or whatever place. When you close your eyes and think, okay, what feels inspiring for me right now? Go to that place and bring a notebook and take note of the things that are inspiring you. Is it the architecture? Is it how nature looks at the moment? Is it the people having conversations around you? Note down things that you are inspired for at the moment. A third exercise you can do is to track your inspiration over time. So if you, for example, find something on Instagram that you're like, oh, this was inspiring, save that, take a screenshot of it, note it down in a notebook. And if you're watching If you're watching something on Netflix and you feel, oh, that's inspiring, you note that down. If you're having a conversation with a friend and it really fuels you and you feel really inspired by it, note down what you were talking about. And over time, you just connect these little strands of inspiration. And then you do the same thing as you did with your Pinterest board. You look it over and start looking for the trends and looking for the things that come back. And it's a little bit like panning for gold. So there might be things that are in very many different directions, but usually there are trends beneath the things that are inspiring us. And plucking out these trends can really illuminate what you're inspired for at the moment. So I would suggest when you do this kind of inspiration gathering exercise, try to refine it down at the end into a sentence or a couple of trend words, something that when you have gone through your inspiration, you have something concrete and something that you can work with as you are moving forward in your creative work. The second step is to check in with what feels true and authentic at the moment. So as creatives, sometimes things can feel a little bit off because it doesn't feel true to us. It doesn't feel like us. It feels like either a older version of our creative selves, or it feels like something we have been copying someone else doing, or it just doesn't quite feel right. And if you have experienced this feeling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I've had this happen, many creatives I work with has had this happen. And so apart from just checking in with inspiration, that can sometimes point us towards things that we feel are inspiring, but might not necessarily be authentic for us. It's also really important to check in with what feels true and authentic. So especially if you are doing something already, you might have an Instagram account or you're blogging, or you're working on a project. Check in with which part of that feels true and good and which doesn't, and which part doesn't feel good and true and authentic in you. They can also tell you a lot about what is the thing that feels off in your creative direction. So sit down with a piece of paper or a journal and list down things that this feels good, this feels like me, this feels true, this feels honest, and list down the things that don't. They feel off, they might feel like you are playing a role, or like you are trying to be something else than what you actually are, or the things that feels like you should do them rather than you actually want to do them. And having this checking can be also so incredibly illuminating about what is actually you in the work you're doing, and what is something that you have picked up that you feel like you should be doing, or you did it before, so you feel like you should keep doing it. And if this is bringing up a lot for you, this can be a sign that you might want to do a niche change if you are publishing your work online and you have a quite defined creative niche. Or it can be a sign just of, sometimes we imagine something, we have a creative vision, and when we start working on it and we start realizing that vision, we can see that, okay, maybe that wasn't exactly what I wanted. We might have to tweak it a little bit. Or it might be that we have had a vision and we have created something we thought was that vision, but we realize when we are actually seeing it that we're not quite hitting that vision. It can also be your creative identity that is forming and changing and pulling you in a little bit of a different direction. So this exercise can be really, really helpful to understand more about where you want to go and who you are as a creative. The third step is to check in with what is most important to you. So sometimes we can get pulled in directions that are not actually what feels most important to us. Maybe because we were inspired about something, but it pulled us in a direction that wasn't actually aligned with what is important to us as creatives. And we might have to rein it a little bit back. And sometimes we haven't really getting clear on what is most important, and so we're spreading ourselves thin, going in different directions, and we just have to hone it back a little bit and get focused and clear on what is actually really important to you in your creative life. So to do this, it can be good if you have gotten clear on your why. going back to that why and seeing, okay, so why is it that I'm creating? What is it I'm trying to say with my creativity and my art? And come back to that and really get grounded in that again. Remind yourself and journal it out. It can also be a really good time to check in with your values and check in with what kind of creator do you really want to be. And if you're doing different kind of creativity, what part of it is it that is most important to you? Why are you doing this? What is the thing that really lights you up most and brings you most joy if you're feeling a little bit scattered and overwhelmed by things? And ask yourself, journal about this. What is it that is most important to you in your creative life? And what is most important in this part of your creative journey? Sometimes we can be multi-passionate, we can want to do many different projects, have many different ideas, but we can't do them all at the same time. And even if we know that we want to work on these many things at some point, we have to get a little bit clearer and focus on, okay, so what is most important right now? What do I have to focus on in this season of my creative life? So journal about that, get clear on what's important to you, what's most important, and actually prioritize. I know that it can be difficult to prioritize, especially if you feel like you want to move forward faster than you're doing, or if you don't really want to let go of one project, you want to do different things at the same time. But prioritizing can be a really good way to get clear and get that clear creative vision for this period of your creative life. Finally, when we have checked in with our inspiration, with what feels true and authentic, and we have checked in with what is most important to you in your creative life, it's time to bring it all together, because these things might be pointing in slightly different directions, and so we have to look at them all as a whole and to see, okay, so what are the trends, what are the things that are standing out from these three different exercises, and see, okay, so what is my creative direction about? What's important, what is true, and what is inspiring me? So how you do this exactly is up to you. You can journal it out, you can write a little bit of a guide for yourself, or as I like to do, I'm very fond of doing like little small vision boards as I'm going, just to get clear on, okay, so it might be for a specific project like an Instagram account. Okay, so what is it I'm inspired for at the moment? What is good and true, and what is the thing that is most important to me? Give myself a little bit of a visual guide with a couple of keywords, a couple of sentences maybe, and some visuals, especially if this is a visual thing that is inspiring you. So that is something you can do to bring it all together. You can do this with Google Drawings or Canva or Photoshop, or you can actually do it with, piece of paper and clipping things from magazine and writing down, or just in your journal, that's also fine. Just to gather the things that you have uncovered and make it into something that you can come back to 2 weeks from now, a month from now, when you feel okay, what was it again? And maybe at that point you will realize that things have shifted slightly, but to actually get clear on that and get it to a point where you can come back to it and check in with it and see, oh, right, this is what my direction is at the moment. So this 4-part structure is the structure for my new course, The Creative's Compass. And I'm so inspired for this course. I had the idea for it quite a while ago, in the end of last summer, and I have had to prioritize other projects after that point, and I've kept coming back to this idea and really wanted to bring it to life, and here I am bringing it to life finally. And I really wanted to create this course because I'm seeing for myself, I'm seeing for all the creatives that I work with, that this happens quite often, and it happens that we get a little bit disconnected from things in our creative work and creative life, and I know that it's so important that we feel clear to be able to move forward. And if we are getting stuck in this phase of feeling unsure and unclear, then it can really wreak havoc and can pull us off the path and actually not create for a while. And so I think it's really important for us to come back to our inspiration, come back to our creativity and our direction regularly in our creative life as well. So I'm working on this course right now. It's going to be launching in the beginning of April. So you can do it on your own if you want, self-paced course on whatever scale you want, if you want to do it for your whole creative life or just for maybe a specific project and go through it quite quickly. But we're also going to go through it in my membership community, Companions in Creativity, and we're going to do that in April. So come join us in the membership if you want to go through it together with a really warm and wonderful community of creatives. So if you're interested in the course, I'll leave the link to it down in the description so you can check it out. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope that you get some clarity and direction in your creative life if that's what you are looking for, and that I could give you some tips on how to find it as well. So yeah, hope you're having a really lovely day. If you're new here, hello and welcome. You can subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!